Hey guys, welcome back for another video. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be breaking down our 2025 Florida Gators football schedule. We're going to look over every single game, try to predict what games they might win, where they might lose, and which games specifically on the 2025 schedule might be toss-ups, which could go either way. There's a lot of anticipation coming for these Florida Gators. No one was under more pressure starting the 24 season than Billy Napier. But guys, guess what? He finished the season on a high note. They showed how competitive they were. They fought their way back that second half. They beat Ole Miss. They have competitive games versus the Bulldogs. They showed the fight they had, the will they had, but with that promise, finishing the 24 season leads to some potential momentum and now some expectations for the 2025 season. Will Billy Napier and company be able to live up to those new expectations? But first things first, guys, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about the Gators or anything else, drop them below and I will respond to every single one of them. We have our 2025 schedule up there on the board. You see the way that I broke it down. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win these games. I'm not saying they're going to lose these games. As of right now, this is the way that I predict Vegas is going to be early season predicting these games as of right now. The blue games. Those are the games that they're going to be favored in as of right now from Vegas, the yellow or the toss-ups. They could go either way. Not saying they're going to win them, not saying they're going to lose them. It's a 50-50, could go either way. And of course, the red is these games that they are more than likely as of right now going to come into that game as the preseason underdog. Last season, do not forget that Billy Napier and company, they had a 4.5 win prediction from Vegas last season. Vegas did not predict them making a bowl game. They won 8 games. They made a bowl game. They beat a top 10 team, finished with a lot of promise. Billy Napier was able to take that momentum, capitalize on it in the offseason, finish with a top 10 recruiting class, finish with a top 20 portal class. Billy has been hard at work. He's been working the coaching staff. He's been working this roster, trying to build some depth. Where they really need to get things going, they need to find some new developed weapons on the offensive side at the skilled positions. Running back, wide receiver, you have the guy who's getting a lot of praise at quarterback, DJ Lagaway, one of the most anticipated quarterbacks in recent Florida football history. Showed you the promise last season that he had. He had some picks, but he was a true freshman starting. Will he be able to turn all of that offseason news into stats on the field this season? All eyes will be on him. Some people has him as an early season Heisman frontrunner. Some people are getting a little carried away here, but will Billy Napier? He loves to call those plays himself. A lot of Florida Gator fans, you guys are a rabid fan base. You love your Florida Gators. A lot of people want him to give up play calling duties, just overwatch this team like a general. And then on the defensive side, did he make enough changes, especially in the trenches, front seven, to be able to get this team in a very, very competitive and deep SEC conference? No conference is deeper. No conference is harder to win. Florida last season, 4.5 wins. They almost completely doubled that. They showed what they can do, but they must carry that momentum the way they finished 24 all through the whole offseason into the 25 season. Thankfully for them, they have a little bit of an easy start to that schedule. Hopefully they can build up some momentum there, start running through these games, pile up some wins. As of right now, I think Vegas has them hovering about 7 to 8 early season wins as of right now. Will they be able to win more than that? Billy, you survived the hot seat last season, but you're technically still on the hot seat right now. If he comes into this season and wins 6 games, he's probably getting fired. He needs to make sure he wins at least 8 games. You have to at least smash what you did last season. Florida had the most difficult schedule I have ever seen in my life last season. They were able to survive it, still won 8 games, showed how good they can be. Schedule's very tough this season, one of the 5 hardest, but not as tough technically as it was last season. But let's start looking at the schedule. Obviously, they start things off with Long Island University. There's a lot of news so far. What is the health status of DJ Lagaway? Billy's been really silent on that. Makes complete sense. He said as of right now, they were looking for a second opinion. Second opinion on what? That's the big question. Will he be starting the season? Will we see him in the spring? Will he be ready for the LSU game? The Miami game, the Texas game, we don't know as of right now, but no matter what, they should be able to obviously win the game and win the game convincingly versus LIU. You have DJ Lagaway. Bailey's going to be backing him up. He might get some reps here. You want your backup to get some reps, just like Lagaway got reps last season in that Miami game. Eugene Wilson, he's going to be back as that star wide receiver. He's the guy that can make a difference, was a little banged up last season. You have Hawkins, Mizell, Jackson, Sturdivant, Wilson, and then a running back, Ball, and Jacoby Jackson Jr. Look for Florida. They want to keep this ball on the ground, establish a great run game, take some pressure off of your young Lagaway, open up that play action for him, really let him take advantage on those deep play action passes here. They should cruise to an early season win. That's one thing that they didn't have last season when they lost that first game to Miami. And then they have an in-state game here. USF, this game's going to be September 6th. You see they're starting out the season back-to-back home games. They should be able to win this game convincingly. USF had a little bit of a competitive game first half versus Miami last season, and then before that versus Alabama. They're going to play you physical that first half, but Florida should be able to out-talent them by the time the second half starts. Then you have your first real test here. LSU at LSU September 13th. I have them coming into this game as a toss-up. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm not saying they're going to lose it, but you have to respect Brian Kelly and company. Brian Kelly, a very talented coach, very underappreciated head coach, and you know LSU. They're going to have a top 10, a top 5 overall roster in the nation, blue chip wise. They have Nussmeier back at quarterback. They're going to have a loaded wide receiver core, a much improved defense year 2 under Blake Baker. They are at least going to be able to score points. It's going to be the first true test for that Florida defense, for that front seven that's only returning 3 starters from last season's squad. This is one of those games, could go either way. Let's say they drop it. You now have at Miami coming up right after that. Miami, completely rebuilt team. This is a team that curb stomped Florida in Gainesville last season. Now they're going to Miami. Carson Beck, very familiar with the SEC, very talented team, very talented offensive line. How will Carson Beck, who's not going to get much reps in the spring because he is banged up right now, how does Miami look with their new quarterback? We know they're talented, but this is one of those games. Both of these rosters are equally talented. Which coach is going to have the more developed, more physical team? I have to give Miami the early season edge because at least they have a third-year starting quarterback, Carson Beck. Whereas Florida right now, we don't even know if they're going to have DJ Lagaway here. But this is one of those games I marked it as a toss-up, could go either way. You don't want to lose to LSU and Miami and go into the Texas game at 2-2 here on October 4th. Texas, uber talented. Arch Manning's going to be getting the reps here as the starting quarterback. Florida went into that Texas game last season very depleted. They still fought their tail off, showed how competitive they were. I have them coming into this game, first game as an underdog here because Texas is going to be one of those teams favored to win the SEC right now. They are going to be too talented. Florida's just going to want to keep this game close, keep it respectable. But hey, if you beat LSU, if you beat Miami, you can still be sitting here at 4-1, really in the meaty part of your schedule. And then after that, at Texas A&M. This is one of those games, I still have it as a toss-up. The Aggies have a top 10 overall roster. Mike Elko, very physical team, line of scrimmage team. They want to line up. They want to run it at you. It's going to put a lot of pressure on that Florida defensive line because they're going to have to beat them at the point of attack. Physical game, 4-quarter game. I see this game being close either way. I marked it as a toss-up. As talented as the Aggies are, I do think Florida has the talent to match them and even beat them. But this is going to be one of those games. It's going to be close. That's why it's a toss-up early on. And then you have Mississippi State after that. This should be a game Florida should be favored in. They should be able to beat Jeff Lebby and company. And you hopefully should, for sure, have DJ Lagaway getting the starting reps at the quarterback. And then after that, you have the biggest cocktail party versus Georgia. This game is going to be in Jacksonville. Even though this is a potential toss-up game, I have the Georgia Bulldogs are probably going to be, as of right now, the early season favorites to win this game. I don't think the spread's going to be close. Kirby Smart and team, very talented. Stockton at quarterback. They're going to have a top 20 offense, top 20 defense. They're going to get after it, but these teams are familiar with one another. In these rivalry games, technically anything can happen, but obviously right now, everyone's going to have Georgia marked as the favored team preseason. But hey, that doesn't mean they're going to win it once it gets down to it. Then after that, at Kentucky, Florida should be able to beat Kentucky. Stoops, great coach, great defensive-minded guy, but they just never have the offense. They got to get that offense going, or they're not going to be able to go anywhere. Florida should be able to win this game. Should be the early season favorite here. Then after that, you have at Ole Miss. This is one of those games. Ole Miss, a lot of people still have them as a top 10 team, replacing a lot of their starters. On offense, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, a lot of their starters on defense, especially that defensive line. They did have a top 10 defense in the nation last season, top 10 offense, but you have Lane Kiffin. You know they're going to score points. You know they're going to have a great offense. They should have a great defense. He continues to own the portal. He's going to field a competitive team, but he fielded a competitive team last season, and Florida beat them. They out-physicaled them. They outplayed them. They won in the time that it had to win the game. That's why I have this game as a toss-up. Even though Ole Miss is going to be talented, even though they're an outlier to potentially make the playoffs, Florida beat them last season. You cannot ignore that. They showed they can beat a great Ole Miss team, so I have to mark this one as a toss-up still. And then you have Tennessee here. Florida showed last season they can compete with Tennessee. Tennessee, they're going to have a top 10 defense, great defensive team. They're going to have an offense that puts up points outside of SEC play, but once they hit SEC play last year, Nico and team, they can score some points. They can run one of the best rushing teams in the SEC, but they struggle to consistently move the ball through the air in SEC play. This is a rivalry game. This is one game that Florida definitely wants to win. They want to finish that season again on a strong note, just like they did last season. As talented as Tennessee is on offense and defense, I have to mark this as a toss-up here because Florida has shown they can win these games down the stretch. Until they show that they're not capable of that, I have to give them the benefit here. Have to mark this one also as a toss-up. And then you finish the season versus Florida State. This is your in-state rivalry here. One of the best games in college football history, one of the best rivalries in college football history. UF versus FSU. Norvell made a lot of changes, made a lot of moves this offseason. But I'm sorry, guys, you won 2 games last season. Not 3, not 4, not 5, 2 games last season. I have to mark you as the underdog. Even though you made a lot of changes this offseason, I have to see it on tape. I have to see it on the field. I have to give you that benefit. I want to see it when the season starts. As of right now, Florida has more of the known factors here. Quarterback coming back. A lot of playmakers coming back. Same coach. Florida State, you don't have that. A lot of moving variables. Florida preseason should be the favorite to win this game again back-to-back seasons. Guys, that's just a quick preview, a quick breakdown, our early season breakdown of our Florida Gators football schedule. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, please drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.